Alex Belfield.
It's the big show with me, Alex Belfield, and I'm delighted to welcome William Roache. How are you?
I'm very well, lovely to see you.
William, it's so nice to talk to you, and I'll tell you what I love the most about Coronation Street is the sarcasm, the wit and the humour. Thank God you've kept that in the programme all these years.
Yes, that's right, and the thing about it is, I mean, EastEnders know that they're criticised for lacking humour, but you can't impose it. Humour isn't something just that the writers say, oh, let's write something funny. If you are character-based, which to be safe you have to be, if your stories are character-based, you're fine. If they're not, you've got to have stronger and stronger stories and you have problems. But if your stories are character-based also, the humour will emanate. Look, you've got Norris and Rita, and you've got the Duckworths, and you've got Fizz and Kirk, and you've got and the Battersby. You've got your characters that you smile when you mention. So the comedy is inbuilt. Plus, it's also endemic within the street that however serious a situation is, someone will make a choice little remark that'll get a laugh. So it's just been part of the show. It's built in.
I think one great thing that's happened to you in the last few years is the arrival of the mother-in-law. That's really brought a great feeling to your household, hasn't it?
Yeah, wonderful. You see, I've got a wonderfully dysfunctional family. I mean, there's mother-in-law Blanche and mother-in-law from House, really wonderful. There's always been an old caustic character who will just say what she thinks, irrespective of the grenades it's throwing around at everybody. And then you've got murderous daughter Tracy. I've got my son, bigamist son Peter. Ken and Deirdre are a bit dodgy, but you know, we're a wonderfully dysfunctional family, and long may it be so, because that's where the stories are. And we're all good. We all love working with each other. We get on so well. So yeah, I love it.
And people love you, and that must be an odd thing. How many people actually know your real name?
Well, more nowadays than they used to. In the early days, they were quite tough about us not doing other shows because they wanted people to believe in the reality. And when we started, as I said earlier, it was like a kitchen sink drama. It was meant to be gritty and realistic. But now they've seen us do other things, This Is Your Life and Ant and Dec and things I've been on, and they know, more and more people know your name now. Even though Ken, I treat Ken as a nickname, obviously. I can't get all upset if someone calls me Ken. In fact, my own father actually did it once. We were watching the show in the break. He said, oh, put the kettle on, Ken. Sorry, but I thought, right, if my own father can do it, because he was sort of absorbed in what I'd been watching, I'm never going to be upset about that. So I treat Ken as a nickname, and I like Ken, and he's okay, and I can live with him quite happily. Thank goodness he's not a serial killer or something like that, because I would have had problems, I think.
Well, you never know if the ratings drop. They might have to do something.
Oh, don't say that, no, because, you know, he killed off his mother, his father, his brother, and first wife. Well, not actually, but it could turn out that he did, you never know. Were
you always going to be an actor? I can't imagine you doing anything else because we've known you for so long as an actor. Did you have any other dreams when you were a child?
Well, apart from dreams, no, the whole destiny was going in other directions. I'm a second generation of doctors. My grandfather and father were both doctors. It was expected I'd follow in the same line, but I didn't. National service was there when I came out of school, so I did that. I got commissioned into the army. I took a short service commission. I did 3 years in the army. Ended up as a captain in what we now call the Gulf. It wasn't like it is now, but that's where I had 2 years. Then I came out at the age of 25 and decided I'll have a go. And I'm still having a go.
What is the key to being a great actor? I see people trying it, some succeed, some don't. Is it subtlety? I know theatre acting is very different to TV acting, for example.
It's honesty, it's truth. You can't just learn some lines and superficially say them. It starts in the heart. You have to know who and what you are, know who and what you're feeling, and if you have that truth, you can't go wrong. Doesn't matter what anybody throws at you. If you are there, in that situation, in that character in that situation, then everything will come out correctly. So you don't fool. Acting isn't like a lot of people think. Acting, in other words, being something that you're not. It's actually believing and being. And that's what we have to be, because the television camera or any camera is so closely looking at every eye movement. You cannot be deceiving. So you have to learn to be and become. Like I said, if you have to cry, you learn your lines really well, you get into the situation, you understand the situation, and then you cry. Fortunately, I'm one of those who can. I can actually cry if I have to. And in a sense, it's more enjoyable that way. You live vicariously or through something else. But I would say the truth to good the key to good acting is the seed in your heart, the truth.
Question I've got to ask you is, how do you remember all the lines? You've got so much to remember now in such a short space of time. What is your method for doing it?
Well, again, it isn't learning lines. It's understanding a situation, and it's a real situation, and there's a conversation, like, hello Deirdre, you know, fine, how are you? And great, how's Blanche? Oh, I've locked her in the loo, fine, I'll leave her there. Are you coming to have us a drink? Yeah, okay, we'll do that later. Where should we eat tonight? Oh, by the way, I'm divorcing you. Oh, really? Why? Yeah, because you've been having it off with Dev, you know. I mean, there's a sequence of thoughts and events. It isn't learning lines, it's understanding the situation. When you understand the situation, if it's well written, which it usually is, the words will fall into place. But actually learning sometimes gets harder as you get older, not easier.
Is there room for ad-lib in this show?
There is no ad-libbing. You have to be word perfect. Every word is written down. If you want to change something, you have to discuss it, argue it. Apart from that, there are 14 writers who jealously guard every word that they've written, and that is their craft. They are writers and we are actors. If all of us started rewriting our own parts, absolute chaos would ensue. The writers write, they do it very well. Our job is to recreate what they've written.
I'm always amazed when I speak to actors like yourself who work in soap particularly, how hard you work and why you choose to do it. You're well paid, but you're not living the multi-millionaire lifestyle. Why do you choose to do this and not do theatre, for example?
You see, we're not like certain celebrity status. We're actors, and we're paid to be in a show, and we're not well paid by certain standards. We're okay. We're very lucky to be in the work we're in. I appreciate that. I just want to be an actor. Some people say when they ask what they want to be famous. Well, you know, what's that? I just want to be good at what I do. I always wanted to act. My eldest son, Linus, who lives in America now, doing great films and great television, he was the same. He did National Theatre for 15 years, virtually unknown. My youngest son, Will, is going into acting. He doesn't want the fame, the celebrity bit, which is really not what we're after. We enjoy acting, which is getting into characters, believing them and portraying them, and that is the joy of acting. There's a wonderful moments when you know you're holding an audience. Comedians talk about, they get laughs all the time. That is great. Actors, you have to be able to control silence and know that you're holding your audience, or make them cry. And there's a wonderful feeling when you do that. It isn't power, it's just the enjoyment of what true acting is. So that's why we're in it. We're not in it for the fame, the celebrity, or whatever you want to say. We're in it for the enjoyment of the job that we do. Which can have great moments. You get a lot of bread and butter days, but you get certain scenes when you know you've hit something, you know you've got it right, and that's the reward.
TV's changed massively, and certainly show business is unrecognisable. It's all about fame and celebrity now. It's a whole different ballgame now, isn't it?
We started it. It was Ken and Deirdre in about 15, 16 years ago with the great story, with the Ken, Mike, Deirdre story that hit the front of the page. It was flashed up on Manchester United's screen, and there was actually a photograph of the television screen on the front page of the paper the following day of Ken Stays with Deirdre. That made the tabloids suddenly realise the power of the so-called soaps, and from then on they appointed their own soap reporters, and everybody started, and it sort of started from then. And at that time we had the heightened thing of the press hanging around outside your house and all that. I've had 45 years one way or another to live with this, and although you're right, it has changed. To some extent I'm an observer. It's no worse or different for me than it ever was. I think they're after the youngsters, particularly the younger female ones, more than anybody. It's always been the case that if you've got any skeletons in your cupboard, they're going to come tumbling out, and you just have to learn to live with that.
William, you must have been asked to do a topless shoot at some point.
Sadly, no, and I think it's getting a bit late for that. Not a pretty sight now. No.
Who have you enjoyed working with the most?
Anko Bride and myself work very well together. And actors work in different ways, and the great thing about Anna and myself is we can take a scene up, higher, topping each other, or take it down, or speed it up or slow it down, or cry, and still carry on. So we work very well together. So over the years it has to be Anne. Early days, old Jack Howarth, who a lot of people won't remember, Uncle Albert Tatler, he was a wonderful old character. He was 65 when the street started, and 88 when he died. He was still virtually in it. He was a lovely, he was a grumpy old so-and-so, but he was good to work with. But in those early days, John Betjeman, the poet laureate, described the street as Dickensian, which it was, with the wonderful characters that you had. And now it's so different. We only had a cast of about 12 or 15 for years and years, and they were more eccentrics. Now you've got a lot of normal people, but you still got your eccentrics. You still got that basic thing it always had, of strong characters from which the stories come.
Are there young people you work with now who impress you with their ability to cope with the schedule and the learning of the lines and delivering them, more importantly?
All the young ones now impress me tremendously. I like to think I was the old wise man that they all come to for advice, but I feel I should go to them for advice most of the time. They're very confident, they're very good, and I think we're lucky to have them.
I presume there's no room for egos and prima donnas in Coronation Street. You're just too busy to cope with any of that.
You're absolutely right. An ego and a prima donna wouldn't last 5 minutes. There is no time for that. It's a very tough schedule. You have to get on with the job, and that's it. Anyone with any nonsense in them wouldn't stay the course.
Going back to what you said about being in the papers, what's that feeling like when you open a newspaper, or more importantly, you're on the front of it, and there's a story about you?
It's we're sensitive people, and you know, they often don't really. My heart bleeds sometimes when I see some of the things, and people say, "Oh, look at that! Look what's happened to so-and-so." And I know that poor guy, and maybe his family, depending on what's happened. There's a lot of very hurt people, very upset people. We're all human beings, and probably actors, maybe. A lot of people think they're insensitive. I would say they're probably more sensitive than most. And it can be very hurtful, the things that the tabloids do. I mean, you get a lot of people when they're young, they'll court the press, or they'll have press officers who'll go out and make sure they're filmed wherever they go, and then suddenly something goes wrong in their life, and then they don't like it. And I'm afraid if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Similarly with the media. I just have a respect for the media. I don't court it, but neither do I deny it. I accept it as part and parcel of life. They have their job to do. We have our job to do. And I like to think I tread a nice middle course.
My favourite times are things like Christmas, when you get those big specials. Are they enjoyable to do? Do you look forward to those times as well?
No. The big people say, "Oh, the wedding. Did you enjoy the wedding?" No. The funeral. Did you enjoy it? No. It means 4 or 5 days sitting around a crematorium or a church, and they're off. We dread them because you're out on vacation, you're away from your dressing room, and it's usually wet and windy outside, and it's not quite the same as feeling it. We like dramatic moments. You like good dramatic scenes, but actually big events are usually tedious for us in the way of we're removed out to a location, and it's uncomfortable.
William, thank you so much for spending the time to talk to me. It's a real thrill, and good luck with the future, and good luck with the tour, and thanks for talking to me.
Thank you. I enjoyed talking to you, and thank you very much.